Hey folks, welcome to the Solar Fit Renewable Energy Show. Bill Gallagher back with you again this morning. I'll give you a little weather report. Beautiful out there today. It's about 87 degrees. We're into the month of June. How in the heck did that happen? We've got a very distinguished guest that we're going to introduce in just a moment. But before we do, we've got to give a shout out to our friends at Daytona Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram for their loyal support through the years, particularly to our driver, Mr. Daniel Dye, competing full-time this year in the the Xfinity Series, driving number 10 Chevrolet for College Chevrolet. And guess what? They just came back from Nashville in a 9th place finish in a hotly contested race up there. Man, he's really, really doing good. So anyway, if you have a chance, tune in. You can see him on Prime or CW. Just follow him. He's carrying the Solar Fit banner and the Race to Stop Suicide message across America. Okay, our very distinguished guest with us today is Mr. Bob Harrington. Bob, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Bill. Happy to be here again.
Thanks so much for you coming in. Bob's been on the show several times. You can remember me back in the Ed Sullivan days when he first came on. How many times have you been on the show, Bob?
I think it's now 6 or 7.
6 or 7 times, okay. Well, this one we have the distinct pleasure of welcoming Bob back to the fold as our business development manager in Palm Coast, Florida. Palm Coast has grown. Bob, hey, before we get into that, talk a little bit about your background. Where did you grow up?
So I grew up all over the country. My dad was Navy. So California, Hawaii, Virginia, Maryland, Georgia. And then I got married and moved more than I actually did and lived in Idaho, Montana, Oklahoma, Texas, Florida, Michigan.
Jeez, is there a state you haven't lived in? That'd be better.
The only thing I haven't visited is North Dakota.
North Dakota.
Yeah.
What, was there a reason why you left them out?
Hopefully there's nobody here from North Dakota.
Well, we're a little spoiled down here. We got such great weather,
You know why the wind blows north in South Dakota? Because North Dakota sucks.
Okay, folks, we're going to scratch that from the record. But anyway, Bob, welcome back to the show here. So, boy, we've been buds now for, what you were telling me the other day, 2009 or something? Something like that. Yeah. When did we first meet?
When I walked in the door and was pushing SunPower.
Right. I remember that, yeah.
And you'd been around for a while, which, by the way, happy 50th anniversary.
Thank you.
I turned 59 yesterday.
59. Congratulations. Happy birthday. 59.
So, yeah.
So we started in business and you were
when I was 9 years old.
9 years old. I remember that very well. Where were your parents living then?
Then we were at 9 years old. I was in California. San Diego.
I love San Diego.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful area. You get back there very much?
No, not very often. I went back there for college, finished, and then moved to Michigan and married my wife.
Oh my goodness! So you've been back there for the SPI shows or anything? Or?
I haven't been to California in 5 to 7 years.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, so the show this year is in Las Vegas, I think. Last year was in Anaheim, and yeah, boy, I'll tell you, it's an interesting time that we're seeing now with solar. So when you started with SunPower, what were you doing just prior to that? How did you get involved in solar energy?
So I was in the hot tub business.
Hot tub, okay.
Yeah, working for a company called Watkins that makes hot spring spas. And the executive director of residential programs, a guy named Vikas Desai, went hunting around to try and find a company that had the best dealer direct model, and that happened to be our company. So he hired a national sales manager away and hired a couple other people that have already left the company. And then I got taken, and then a friend of mine named Jim Walls got taken, and then we all circled up at this company called SunPower, and we turned them into a $1 billion residential business with some of the thought processes and how we did business. And we were affectionately referred to as the Hot Tub Mafia.
The Hot Tub Mafia. Well, SunPower was by far the premier solar panel manufacturer for a number of years.
Yeah.
And they've fallen on hard times, but I understand they're coming back. That's what I hear.
Yeah.
to some degree. So.
Yeah, they got all their assets got purchased by a company called Complete Solar, and now Complete is changing their name to SunPower, and we'll see if they can actually make it work again. Right? They've lost all their advantages, unfortunately. Right?
Yeah.
Their production capabilities have been caught up by everybody else.
Well, interesting trip for sure. Well, there's a lot of inertia right now for solar in America and actually around the world. I think this last year there was more solar power put on the energy grid than any other type of energy, fossil fuel, whatever. That's pretty darn impressive, isn't it?
Correct. Yeah, when I first got in this business, solar was selling for $6 and $8 a watt. And now it's under $2 or under $3 actually, under $3 a watt.
It's come down a lot.
Yeah, and you'd think it would be a lot more gangbusters, but because back then FPL and Duke were giving away so much money when you bought a solar system, everybody was clamoring to do it.
Right.
It's now cheaper than that at that point. Still makes sense, but you don't sell as much right now.
Yeah, it's really interesting with the utility companies getting out of it and the tax credit kind of right now giving you advantage of 30%, which is huge,
right? And
30% plus depreciation for commercial jobs, which is really huge. There you see a lot of adoptions going on.
Yeah, it's definitely a big advantage. It was one of the first things that when I got into the business that I thought about was, what's going to happen when all of the incentives go away. And it looks like we may be seeing that on the residential side December 31st this year. Maybe.
Yeah, I think the thing that's really going to propel solar to the next level and maybe not see the dip that some people are projecting if the tax credit goes out is the price of electricity, right?
Yeah.
So if we do lose the tax credit and if we do lose some of the manufacturing that's grown here, obviously the utilities use a lot of solar power now. If that solar power development goes away and you have to purchase fossil fuels to make energy, we're all going to be paying more.
Right.
So the unintended consequence of that happening means that our rates are going to go up, and that's going to propel people to say, "Look, we that's enough. We're going to go solar."
Yeah. So the one thing that I calculated, and I love playing with numbers, is that when you hit about 15 to 16 cents a kilowatt hour, which we're really close to, right? If you take the entire bill, we're at 15 cents right now. If you take that number, that is a split decision between I can go with my utility or I can go with solar, and it's almost a wash.
Mm-hmm. Of course, the benefit of going solar is once you do that, you lock these prices in for the next 15 or 20 years.
Correct.
That little wedge that they call, right, a little wedge which you lock in your prices and the utilities going up is all profit.
Yeah. So the phrase that everybody uses in the business is, if you could have bought gas in the 90s for $1.50, how much would you have bought knowing where it is today?
Exactly. Yeah, that's a good thing. Now, 1950s. Gosh, you weren't even around then, were you?
1990s.
Oh, you said 50s.
Did I say 50s?
Ladies and gentlemen, he did say
Maybe
50s.
I was thinking that
I wanted somebody to please
50
call in
years
and correct us if we're wrong, but it sounded like 1950s. But 1990s. Do you remember the oil embargo?
Yes.
You remember the oil embargo?
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember what happened in the oil embargo as far as when you could buy gas?
Yes, it was based on your license plate.
It was based on your license.
Odds and evens.
Right. Your last letter, first letter of your last name, it had all these different things.
Yeah.
So you could go in and get 7 gallons of gas if you had a G like Gallagher in your name, and you get 3.5 gallons of gas if you had H, which is why Bob Harrington always rode with Bill Gallagher, because I always had more fuel. But that was a crazy time, and we saw it kind of coincided with the inflation, and it was really kind of an interesting time.
Yeah, my parents were telling me about a house that they bought that was close to like 17-18% interest rates.
Oh, yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So we don't have it so bad based on those numbers.
The nice thing about growing old is your memory kind of fades a little bit. So I'm going to share with you what's left of my memory. The first office building I built was on US 1 here in Ormond Beach. And I actually cut the trees down to clear the lot, and I built the office building. I thought, boy, I'm the smartest guy in the world. That when you're 22 years old, you're smart. you think.
Right.
But anyway, so I got this beautiful, beautiful mortgage called the variable rate, and it went from 7% to 19%. And I went, whoa, I have a lot to learn, youngster.
Yeah.
But, yeah, a lot of people that haven't been through that don't realize the effect of it. So we're seeing inflation kind of at a steady level. We're seeing interest rates not drop where we want them to be.
Right.
But we do have some financing solutions for solar that really don't pay any attention to that. It's just like, okay, we're going to install the system for zero money down, and we're going to make the payment for the system or the equipment for the system less than the savings. And they go, what? Is that even possible? It sure is.
It can be done.
It can be done, and that's what people are doing.
Yeah, it's finding the right guy or the right person to sit down with you in your house. Just like you hire a professional, money manager, you should have a professional energy manager as well.
Yeah.
And I consider SolarFit to be one of those energy managers capable of communicating with the consumer with their best interest at heart.
Does that have anything to do with it? You now are an energy manager with SolarFit? It sounds like
could be.
It sounds like Bob.
Could be.
It sure could be. So
I had my choice of many, many, many different companies that I could go work for.
Exactly.
I could have gone and been a solar bro myself.
bro.
And I chose not to.
Yeah, thank goodness. And lucky for the people of Palm Coast and any of the areas you service, because you're an honest guy and you tell the story like it is, and that's all people really want. They're inquisitive about solar, but they may have heard some things about this, that, but if you sit down with people that really know what they're talking about and have a reputation of taking care of people, you'll find it's pretty attractive.
Well, you don't stay around for 50 years if you don't take care of your customers.
That's exactly right. We've got over 27,000 customers now, which is pretty darn good. And we got the greatest service people, Scott and the boys back there. They do such a beautiful job, and we don't subcontract, which is all what you want. And the other thing that I keep kind of harping on this, Bob, and I probably can't say it enough, but when you invest locally, right, locally, because that money that goes into our company or another company, it goes into their employees' pockets, which goes into the Publix, which goes into the Walmart, which goes to the gas station. All that money stays here, as opposed to maybe purchasing a product from someone out of New Jersey. Nothing wrong with New Jersey; it's a beautiful state, but we want to be independent here in Florida.
Right. One of the things I tell people to pay attention to, if I always tell them to ask the question, if you didn't buy it from me, right, who would you buy it from? And that's the customer I tell to ask that question, because invariably the guy that gets mentioned as not me being the sales guy, the guy who gets mentioned the most is the one you should really buy for.
Right. Bob. His name is Bob.
Right.
Yeah, no, we're so glad to have you back. What are some of the new things coming down the pike? We've got a brand new product offering now, the SF100 and the SF150, and pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, the packages that have been put together, super creative. It's the years of experience that you've got in looking and paying attention to what the customer needs and what the customer's benefits are going to be best for, right? Allowing everybody to be happy, from the consumer to the installer to the company, right? It's not grossly overpriced. It's not grossly underpriced, right? So you're going to be around again probably for another 5 years. Just kidding.
Oh, I'm starting to feel my chest tighten. Well, the good news and full disclosure is the business is now being run by my daughter, who's substantially younger. She's the president, and I'm the CEO, founder, floor sweeper, window washer, whatever you get relegated to when you've lost the relevance.
Yeah, chief bottle washer.
But, yeah, I can't believe we're up against the break. Folks, stay with us when we come back. We're going to talk about these SF products and see how they can benefit your home. We're right back with you. Hi folks, Bill Gallagher with SolarFit here. Have you ever thought about utilizing solar power for your home or business?
Well, there's never been a better time to plug into the sun and stop renting electricity. How would you like to let your roof start paying you each month? Give us a call at 445-7606. That's 445-7606. Or visit us at solarfit.com and set yourself free.
SolarFit your life and set yourself free with the sun's free energy.
Hi, folks. Welcome back to the SolarFit Renewable Energy Show. I'm talking with my buddy, Bob Harrington, the Business Development Manager for Palm Coast, Florida, just north of our office here, about 21 miles. How long does it take you to get down here, Bob?
It takes about, a little bit longer than I wanted to. 35, 40 minutes.
Okay, well, that's not bad.
Door to door. But I'm on the north side of Flagler.
Yeah, north side. You're the north side. Yeah, I can remember Palm Coast, some of the first systems we installed in Palm Coast. And as an every little guy, I used to fly over Palm Coast.
Right.
And all I could see was cul-de-sacs, roads paved, but no houses.
Right.
And I'll never forget it because the
pigs.
Pigs, wild pigs. But at the time, ITT would bring people down from New York and New Jersey, and because there wasn't a bridge, there was a boat, and they would take them across to Palm Coast in a boat, and they would sell them lots. And I don't know how many people I've heard say, "Man, I just wish I would have bought one of those riverside lots back then," because they're very expensive now. But I think the thing that impresses me most is they didn't have any houses, and all of a sudden, it was maybe 8 or 10 years ago, it just exploded.
Unbelievable.
And now the growth of Palm Coast, I mean, I don't know how many developments they've got, but it's just incredible.
I think it's the second time they've had the distinguished pleasure, or not, depending on how long you've lived there, right, of being the fastest growing county in the United States.
You know, they do a pretty good job, really, of maintaining the streets and things like that, and facilities. We're very happy to work with them on the Southern Rec building with a big solar power system on that, 100 kW system on that. So if you're into pickleball, which, man, that thing's taken off. Pickleball is taken off like crazy. If you're into pickleball and you go to Palm Coast, if you look up, you'll see the ceiling. But on top of the ceiling, you'll see 100 kW system. So it's powering that facility. That's pretty darn cool.
Yeah, I mean, the grand opening night was very well attended.
Yeah.
And it was nice to be able to go up to the top floor and be able to look out the window and see the system on the roof.
Yep. And, well, so happy to work with municipalities, and now we're working with some folks on fire stations and all different things going on. So commercial part is really, really important, too. You know, they're burning a lot of energy from manufacturing plants to, warehouses, you name it. There's a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah. You eventually, when you buy solar, you can eventually pay off your electric bill.
Yep.
Right? You don't get charged after you've paid the system off.
Yeah.
Whereas with the utility, you're constantly sending them your ACH for whatever number it is.
Yep.
Forever and ever and ever.
Yeah, and sometimes we talk about that. Years ago, you used to be able to get your electric bill. You look at your electric bill, and, if you're really, really proud of it, you could put it under your pillow and kind of cuddle with it at night. Or do whatever you do. But the problem is now you don't get a bill. It's all done on the internet.
Right.
So by the time you figure out that your electric went from 200 to 260, and you go, what happened?
Right.
It's kind of few months going by. So the whole idea of solar fitting your home or your business is to get your electric bill down to as low as, I guess the lowest we can go is what, $25?
Yeah.
That's pretty easy to pay that $25 when you're paying $250 or $300, right?
That's your part of being still on the grid. So that they can maintain their facilities and do their thing. It's like putting your kids in private school. You still got to pay for the public.
Yeah. Well, I guess it's because we were brought up, but I just love the whole idea of freedom, of independence, right? Somebody says, "Hey, let's take a boat trip. We can go with the guide," and I go, "No, I'm not going to go with the guide. I'm going to take that boat down the river." Now, sometimes that works, and sometimes that's not the brightest thing. But I think there's a lot of people in America that are just like us, Bob. That just they're not willing to pay ever increasing bills, so they're taking a lifetime asset. They're taking a lifetime liability and turning it into a lifetime asset. Smart.
Yeah, very smart. Financing it is fine. Cash is probably the best way if you've got spare bucks laying around. There's even ways to pull it out of your 401k if you're a self-managed 401k and pay for it that way, and then you pay yourself back.
Yeah.
Some people have enough in their 401ks to cover the entire system. So there's multiple ways, and it's always a good reason to go solar because it does take control and give you that independence. Mm-hmm. Putting a battery system on it. I was online the other day on that app called Neighborhood. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden, a whole bunch of people started complaining. The power just flickered, and all my clocks in my house and everything, got reset. One guy said I was late for work because my clock got shut off, and I was amazed at how many people were complaining. So I finally got on there and said, you guys have one choice or two choices. Get yourself a generator or put solar on your house and put a battery backup system, and it'll take care of all that.
Yeah, for sure. Think about this, though, Bob, with a generator. A generator is basically an internal combustion engine. Right. And when the grid goes down, the engine has to start up, and there's a pause. So that's not really going to help the flickering of the lights and stuff. Okay. Where with the solar, with the battery, it's instantaneous. When that power goes down, you don't even know it.
Right.
In fact, until it happens at night and people's coming over going, how come your lights are on?
Right.
They would never know.
Right.
But no, the battery technology has really, really taken off, and we really love the combination of the solar power and the battery. We think that that's the ultimate, and it's not off grid because you still want to be connected to the grid, but right. you're not paying any exorbitant price for it. So anyway, I know what we're talking about. For the break, we're talking about the SF100 and SF150.
Oh,
so
right.
A lot of folks out there today are of the mindset that you need to cover your house with solar panels or solar modules, okay? And that's not always the best way of doing it. So we've designed programs where you can pick, based on your electric bill, you can pick from 4 or 5 different systems. In other words, if your electric bill is $100, we have a system. If it's $150, a system. $200, a system. $250, a system. And we custom build these. And how we do it is we use solar thermal, which is solar water heating, in conjunction with a certain size solar electric system, in conjunction with a solar attic ventilator. So going back to the ventilator, what the attic ventilator does is it takes the heat out of the attic, which cools the air conditioning lines that are running through it, which prevents surging of the air conditioning, turning on and off, saves you money there, saves money on your roof so it doesn't bake, absolutely cools in the interior of the home. So it's quiet, there's no electricity. That's a part of it. The solar water heating system heats the water to whatever temperature you want. You can set the maximum at whatever, but very, very efficient. You don't have to use electric elements to turn it on. And then the balance will be the solar power. So you're not restricted to one different thing. We can design anything for any family and any budget. And that's what Bob will be able to explain to you when you meet with him personally. Right,
that's the first time I've heard about it. No, just kidding. Just kidding.
Pretty cool.
And ultimately you've put these packages together with some of the most effective, right, savings components that you can do to your house. But there's also others.
Yep.
Right? We could do a swimming pool pump that is a variable speed.
Right.
There's some insulation. There's all kinds of stuff that you can do to take care of your electric bill. But the fastest, quickest way is these 3 items, right? Putting solar, solar thermal, and solar attic fan to just kind of help everything along.
Yeah, you know what Gloria, and everybody knows if you're from this area, you know who Gloria is. But she really has come on to something that's very helpful. If a person has, say, a heat pump for their swimming pool, but it's very expensive to run the heat pump. She's designed a system where you have solar power panels to offset the heat pump, and sometimes we'll combine a solar pool heating system with a number of solar panels. So the options are unlimited,
right,
as much as you want to do. Whole thing is that how can we help people save money and improve their quality of life?
Yeah, correct. The only thing I'm jealous about Gloria is she's been on this show more often than I have.
I don't know, but she does. She comes on quite a bit. So it's always fun. I wish she was here now. She could join us, but
yeah.
But going a little bit back on the swimming pool part, people really we have a lot of folks that come down from up north, right? Come down here, and the first thing they think is, well, I'm going to build a swimming pool, and swimming pools now can cost, I don't know, about
I had a guy tell me just this the other day, $60,000.
Okay. So a swimming pool costs $60,000. Well, if you don't have some type of heat on the pool, you can only use it really in the summertime. Right? And that's because most of the pools down here are screened. Right. So for a very little expense, you can do a solar pool heating system, and all of a sudden you have no operating costs because you got to run the pump anyway. You run it through the solar system. You set the thermostat pool. Say you want 88. Everybody's happy. Now you've turned the $60,000 investment you have into something you use for 8, 9, 10 months of the year instead of 3.
Right. Yeah. And that my wife has complained about that every once in a while. That it does get cold in the wintertime. Oh, yeah. she's like, we need to add a few things so that we can swim in the winter. And I'm like, yeah, no. We can extend the season.
We can extend this one. Yeah.
For sure.
Well, it really depends because we've had winters here where the outside temperature stayed 80 all year long, but we've also had winters where it got down to 14. So you never really know. Right. It's just what the weather gives you. But
I think it's only snowed here twice,
a couple times
since I've lived here for 25 years.
Jeez, I was on the Daytona International Speedway one time, and they're getting ready to drop the green flag, and it started snowing. Honestly,
in February?
Yeah, wow. It was cold, but that's pretty unusual. We're blessed with good weather here.
Yeah,
our brethren to the north, maybe not so much, but
correct.
You talk a little bit about battery storage. We only got a couple minutes left. I want to talk about that. When we're looking at solar electric systems, it's so easy to determine your return on investment, right?
Right.
And you made it a point about talking about cash. Well, if you invest cash in your solar system, you're going to see 10, 11, 12% tax-free. Yes. You can't beat an investment like that that's safe. The batteries are a little bit different. I think of the batteries, I think of insurance, right? So insure your house, you insure your car. Geez, you insure just about everything, but you haven't insured your power. And if the grid goes down, there's nothing more annoying than not having power for who knows number of days or whatever. You lose your groceries. And Bob, you shop now and then. Is it expensive buying groceries?
Oh my gosh!
Yeah,
I used to be able to get out of there for $40, and now you can't get out of there for less than $50.
Yeah,
or I mean $100. Sorry, $100.
Yeah, $100. Yeah, so you don't want to lose your groceries and stuff.
I avoid Costco because it costs me $300 every time I go there.
Yeah, that's because you buy the 500 rolls of toilet paper. I've never understood that.
I never ran out during COVID.
And I think that you marked it up, sold it to your neighbor if I know you, Bob.
Maybe.
No, it's awesome. Well, we're almost out of time, Bob. I want to tell you how much we appreciate you coming back to the fold and being able to help people in Palm Coast because there's a lot going on. There's a lot of solar penetration. We want to make sure that the people that invest there, do it with you. Right.
You know me. I've always worked for the manufacturers. Right, so I've always had that incredible feeling of helping companies,
right.
And now I'm getting back to my original roots, which is working with the customers directly.
Yeah,
and I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, well, you're going to be a huge asset to the people in Palm Coast as well as our company, and we got some great people here. That's for sure.
Well, and you got some, and honestly, there's some great specials going on for June as well.
Yeah,
through the 15th.
Yeah,
save a couple of grand here and there.
Doesn't hurt.
No.
One thing we haven't touched on, and we're going to do this briefly because we'll go into more depth maybe next week, but we have a special roofing plus solar program that is just unbelievable. We can combine the roof and the solar for a fraction of the cost monthly of just buying the roof. So if you're out there and you think you may need a new roof, or maybe the insurance company has told you you need a new roof, you need to dial us up, 386-445-7606, and let us help you out.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great program. I mean, it's going to benefit an awful lot of people.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, because you get a quote on a roof and it's $16,000 or $17,000. You go, man, I'm not prepared to pay that right now. How am I going to do it? We've got a program for you.
It'll be close to like $100 a month.
$100 a month. Oh my God!
For a new roof.
Holy gosh, boy, the phone's ringing off the hook. Okay, folks, we're going to have to go and answer the phone. Anyway, have a wonderful weekend and tune in and watch Daniel race to the front. We'll talk to you next week.